Hello, Jane. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks, Harry. And you?
Fantastic. Yes, not bad, not bad. You feeling Christmassy? We're getting into the
God, is it
Christmas spirit.
Christmas? Hmm?
I
A
know
little
it's
bit, maybe.
terrifying, isn't it? It's come
Yeah,
around so fast.
I know.
I feel like after COVID, everything just went a million miles an hour. We sort of skipped the 2, 3 years, and then
I know. Back to normal.
yeah,
Crazy,
it's
crazy fast.
crazy.
I know.
So
I have got
y
my tree up though.
you have.
I have.
Wow, you're more organized
Oh,
than me.
well, only my daughter went away. She's not going to be around at Christmas, so we did it together.
Right.
Just
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I've got a bit of a family Christmas party this weekend because it's the only time we can all get together. So I'm with you on that
mm,
one.
yeah.
But yeah, brilliant. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me to have a bit of a chat today. So yeah, are you okay to just sort of tell the listeners, who you are, what you do, and what a day in the life looks like for you, Jane?
Okay. Well, they should be prepared to be exhausted. There's okay,
That's what I
so I
like to
suppose
hear.
like all teachers probably. So my
Mhm.
name's Jane Basnett and I'm Director of Digital Learning at Downhouse, which is an independent girls' school in Newbury.
Okay.
And I've been there for about 15 years. And before that I was at school in Wiltshire, a mixed
Mhm.
an HMC, again, private school.
Yeah.
And but I was head of modern languages actually, and director of digital learning at Downhouse for the last couple of years. But really, as things have become, it's just become more and more important. So now I'm just doing the role as of director of digital learning at Downhouse. And so when I started about 30 years ago, well, yeah, 30 years ago, 1994, I did use technology, the technology that was available to me, like
Okay.
tape
Right.
recorders, TVs, and then what came? TVs, tape recorders, Coombas. I don't know if you know what those
Coombas.
are.
No, no, I'm not. I'm not
All my
familiar
language
myself.
teacher friends will know what they are.
What is
And
it? What is it? Sorry.
oh, it's like so it was really great. So if you wanted the students, say for example, six of them to listen to the tape with headphones on, they put their headphones on, they'd all plug into the same device, and
Wow.
it was a Coomba. Anyway, really not that exciting. And then I can remember whiteboards coming in, and I was a real fan of the Promethean whiteboard and that kind of
Mm,
interactivity. But when I look back on it now, what was the teaching benefit? There were some benefits, I guess, and the use of color and the
yeah.
ability to move things around. But we've moved on from that so much. So when well, for a while at Downhouse, it was just sort of organically became bring your own device students, because devices were available. Students started to bring devices along, and then I was exploring Google Classroom, and I could really see the power of the the collaborative tools, but also the fact that if students were working, I could get in and look at their work at any time.
Yeah.
So but that wasn't a whole school approach really. And then in about 2017, or maybe before that, the school decided, right, okay, we were going to roll out a program across the school. And we're a Microsoft Surface school, one-to-one Surface devices.
Okay.
And when COVID came, we were able to hit the ground running because
Yeah.
we were already using Teams, we were already using class notebooks.
See, that's brilliant. That's really,
Yeah,
really, really helpful. It's almost like you preempted the storm. Really, it's
yeah,
you're batting down the hatches for that one. So yeah, props to you all for that. That's brilliant. I think you were
exactly
definitely a
that.
lot more prepared than other people were. Definitely.
It's exactly that. At least we didn't, we weren't sent back home not having a clue what to do, or we didn't have to come in and do any more training or anything like that.
Absolutely.
It was
Yeah.
just so helpful. And that's when I think my role as director of digital learning really kicked off, because I was able to help people,
Yeah.
to demonstrate to them how to record videos. Because of course, when during COVID, you didn't want to be on your device all the time, and yet we did deliver. We're boarding school, and
Mhm.
lessons go from 9 till 6. Well, they did then, and so you didn't want to go all day,
No.
in front of the screen. You needed to leave. So if it was a double lesson, we worked it out. So it wasn't a constant thing, because that wasn't good for the pupils either. There needed to be time away. So learning how to record a video, sort of like a tutorial for your classes, that
Mhm.
was so helpful. Or being able to embed YouTube videos into the class notebook,
Yeah.
all of those
Absolutely.
things was really good. And for me to be able to see all their work at any given time and to help them directly was brilliant.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So just in regards to how it was received by sort of pupils and staff. So obviously you seem to have, being the director of digital learning, but so that was sort of before COVID, or had you just
No,
started
no, no,
sort of?
I wasn't. So I was still then just head of modern languages, but because
Okay,
I
right.
knew my stuff, I really just helped people. And like the role came along after. I mean, when we first went back to school, because of course we
Okay.
couldn't go back. You couldn't go back to how things
No,
were.
yeah, that's a really interesting point. It was gonna be something I asked. So when you did go back and everything opened up, if you like,
Mm.
did you really keep that the framework of the digital learning in regards to like using Teams and online classrooms and things like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that
Yeah.
really helped. It helped galvanize everybody. So, those people maybe who the slower adopters, it
Hmm.
really helped them to get used to using it and to use all the tools available to them,
Hmm.
So I think they were, our base level rose a lot,
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Of,
you
of
know.
that of
So
that side of things.
everyone was using it. There were very few people who didn't know how to use it and um, who, still wanted to do everything in exercise books. It
Right.
had moved on, and I don't think the students would have wanted to use exercise books. They like the fact that they don't have to carry so much around, that they've got
Mm,
everything accessible all the time. Those things are just
mm.
so you can't. Those things have become ingrained, and you can't. It's very hard to go back, I think.
Absolutely, especially when if the rest of the world, if you like, is sort of as extreme as that sounds, if they're all carrying on with that way of things,
Yeah.
you can't be left behind in that regard. Especially, I think, in my opinion, when it comes to education, it's if it's becoming its own form of education, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
you can't just sort of leave one group behind because they'll be out of touch with everywhere else when they get into the later stages of life, I suppose.
It's exactly that, Harry. We've got to prepare the students for their
Mm,
future, and
yeah,
that will involve computers in some way or other. There will be using it, even if you're in a creative role. Even if you're working in a restaurant, you're still going to be using computers, and you could still use analytics in, when you look at your restaurant data and whatever
yeah,
else. You've
absolutely.
got to be able to use it.
Yeah, of course, of course. It sort of leaks into every aspect of life, especially working life. I mean, well, AI being
Hmm.
the in the name of the podcast. So is that
Yeah.
something that you are starting to see more and more so, in your role within school? Is it something that your school is taking on board, or is it something that it's still a bit, are you still a bit preemptive of?
Oh no, I think we know not to be fearful of it.
That's good. That's really good.
Absolutely, yeah, because I think, I've heard of schools who are fearful of it and who have banned it. And a colleague of mine was at a training course, I think it was for ECTs, and there were, say 60 other people there, and he was about the only one who knew about AI, who was in a school who'd done something about AI,
Wow.
so that really is, I think that's such a concern, because you can't close it down. We have to prepare, like I've said already, we've got to prepare our students for the future. And if they don't know about AI, I mean, they don't necessarily need to know about, how to code,
No,
but they need to know how to use the language models, and to be able to craft great prompts,
absolutely.
et cetera. And they do need to know a little bit about how AI, how it works.
Hmm.
And they need that foundational knowledge. They need to
Hmm.
understand the ethical issues and biases, and so as a school, we're aware of that, and we want to deliver something for our students. But the first step was delivering as soon as it came along. So that was last November, wasn't it?
Yeah.
22.
Think when the LLMs took a big spike
Yeah.
was sort of, I mean, when chat GPT
I know. It's like a
generally.
it's like a child is born November 2022, and then and here we are, November 2023, and it's almost like 15. Like
Yes,
it's
yeah,
growing so fast.
that's a great way of putting it. No, it's the rate of progression with the tools is just, I suppose it's like it's in the sort of a vortex within itself, because it's helping itself to grow, which is growing even
Yeah.
further and more exponentially, and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Which is, for all the coders who are listening to me talk like this, I'm sorry for butchering the life out of it, but I'm not a coder myself. I
No.
don't program anything at the moment. It's something I would love to learn, but
Yeah.
I think it seems like it takes an awful lot of time
I know. I mean,
to hit
that's
those
something maybe we
skills.
could talk about, low coding. But in terms of going back to the question you asked, which is about, how as a school, so
Mhm.
we've done CPD for staff, and I've
Okay.
got a team of colleagues, and what we try and do is share ideas with stuff. I've sent out, like, I have like a newsletter, and demonstrating to them, what's available, what's on use, what we can use rather, and how to use it. Even just simple things. How you would use ChatGPT to create quizzes. And of course, I'm really mindful, of course, that it hallucinates. Teaching staff about the things I mentioned to you, the safeguarding and how it works, um, and now I'm at the point where really planning how we're going to embed it into the curriculum, thinking
Brilliant.
about, our ecosystem. What tools are we going to use? Should we use different tools with our key stage 3 to our key stage 4? I'm aware of a new AI tool, if you like, called Mindjoy,
Okay.
which would enable, I don't know if you know, but it enables you to see how your students are using it, to see the conversations they have, which is
Wow.
beneficial. And of
Yeah.
course, as a Microsoft school, we're able to use Copilot, which
Okay, yes.
protected data. So that's a really positive. That's a positive. That's a positive for us. Being a Microsoft school, we've
Mhm.
got that tool available. So that's where we are at the moment. We need to train our staff in how continue to train our staff in how to write prompts, to use the tools like
Mhm.
ChatGPT, Copilot, Mindjoy, just I think really one of the things I've had to do is to minimize the number of tools that people want to use. Oh, Jane, have you seen
Yeah.
this and this and this? They're just like skins. They're just like layers on top of the AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
They're
they all
just,
sort of
yeah.
yeah,
I think they kind of add. People think, oh, they add something extra, but really, that's things that you can do if you ask the right prompts
of
of
course.
ChatGPT.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
no, it's a bit of a scary minefield, I think, for people who don't know anything about it and aren't used to it, because there are, like you say, there's so many that sort of bridge those gaps for people. But I suppose it's at such an early stage. I think we've kind of got to make up our minds where we're going to go with it. And I think maybe in about 5 or 10 years, there'll be well, not very few. There'll still be a lot that exist, but few the top five will probably
yeah,
be huge. I can't see ChatGPT and OpenAI going anywhere from the top spot myself, just because
no,
it's got that ring to it, hasn't it, as well now. I think ChatGPT is like everybody knows it. I think if I
yeah.
speak to anybody about it, it's just
Well,
even with or with it, out of technology, just in everyday
it's
life is
it's like that old thing that we all call a Hoover, but actually it's a vacuum cleaner because Hoover's the brand name. So
right.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
it's OpenAI
Hmm.
is what we're talking about, but a lot of
Hmm.
people, it's synonymous, isn't it? ChatGPT,
Yeah.
OpenAI,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
use the same term. But you're right in terms of people are being fearful of it. And though we've done tutorials, we've done CPD and inset with staff. I think there are still staff who are anxious about it. So I did a
Mm.
survey with my staff to sort of work out our ecosystem in terms of the tools that we use, not just AI. And I did the part of that was about AI, and 50% of the staff are neutral, would felt neutral about AI. So
Right.
I think that, in terms of, whether they should use it or not and how they would want to use it. But actually, then when I delve deeper, people are using it for research, for writing letters. Visiting
Yeah.
my colleagues, writing letters and creating resources, writing quizzes. So it's really good to see that. And,
Mhm.
part of the plan, the action plan will be to make sure that everybody feels capable to do that.
Yeah, of course. I think it's something that it sounds like you're on a brilliant path with it, especially giving it to your teachers as well, and sort of I suppose it's kind of like soft exposure in a way for writing quizzes and things like that, and
Yeah,
instead of just I suppose going straight into doing reports and lesson plans and everything like that. I
yeah,
think it's because And I think it's also again, in my opinion, I think it's very beneficial to show for teachers to learn and to get that, ingrained into them, because I think, kids, if you like, your students are going to be using it more. As soon as word spreads,
Yeah,
like anything within a school, they're going to be using it. And if they're using it and the teachers, your teachers don't have a clue what it is and don't know how to operate it, don't know what to look for, don't know,
yeah,
I think that becomes very, that's quite a scary prospect
yeah.
in regards to the framework of a school, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, they'll be ahead of us. And also, we owe it to the students to let them leave school with the ability to get into the marketplace and be on a level playing field with all the other
Hmm.
students who may be using it and may have had lessons on how to use it and may have had lessons on its ethical issues and the biases it has. So it's really important that we furnish them with the tools that they need. Absolutely. And I had my lesson yesterday with my year 13. It's we're always really tired because, as I said to you, we go on till the lessons go on to about 6 o'clock. So
All
it
right.
was
Okay.
a graveyard shift lesson from 4 till 5:20 yesterday, and they're a really lovely bunch, my year 13s. But we did end up, we were discussing our film, our set film. I teach French, and there was a question, we were discussing it, and then I said, "Oh, should we ask ChatGPT?" So
Yeah.
I asked Copilot. So we asked Copilot, and we were like, "Wow, that is an impressive response." And
Wow.
but then we read through it and we decided, and it was actually really thorough. There was nothing in it that we thought wasn't appropriate and
Right.
didn't fit the bill. And they said, "Oh yeah, we used it in another lesson the other day, and actually, I really want to know how to use it properly. I still don't think I'm very good at it." So it's great to hear them to
Yeah.
reflect in that way and to recognize that they want to know how to use it and that they don't necessarily know how to use it straight away. And I think the people who poo-poo
Hmm.
OpenAI, whatever they're going to use,
Hmm.
I think they're the ones who are not getting the right prompts,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
not asking the
Absolutely.
right questions.
Yeah, you've got to you have to be educated on it to a certain degree, I think, for it to work. It's not magic. I mean, it is fantastic, it is brilliant, and it
Yeah,
can do some extraordinary things, but it's not, it can't read your mind, I suppose. You have got to give it some
yeah.
prompts, haven't you?
Definitely, you've got to give it the detail that it needs, and you just sometimes I think people ask it. They think it's the internet. They think
Hmm.
they're doing. They ask the sort of question and they say, "Look at the response it gave me," and I would just say to that person, "Well, look at the question you gave it. You could have put that question into the internet and probably got a better response. Really, you haven't asked it the right question.
Yeah,
You need to set your parameters." And obviously I listen, I've read a lot and I've listened to a lot of stuff. And Dan Fitzpatrick obviously talks about prep,
yeah.
the prompt and the role and be
Hmm.
explicit and set your parameters. And all of that is really key. And that's what we need to
Hmm.
make sure everybody understands.
So you're getting an overall positive response, really, from the pupils. Do you think it's more so from the pupils than it is from the teachers, that in regards to the maybe a bit more of the excitement to learn about it? Do you think that it's
Uh,
because
I think teachers this day and age are so busy.
yeah.
So the way I think on the whole, staff, my colleagues are happy to learn about it and to use it,
Mhm.
especially if I can demonstrate to them how they can save time.
Yes, that's a huge one, isn't it?
It's
I think
always about time
r-
saving.
right now at this moment in time, I think it's very much the best thing that AI is. I believe it's barely even scratching the surface of what it can do, but I think right now that's probably one of the greatest things that it offers teachers
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah, for sure. Time savers. I don't use it to write my reports,
No,
but and I'm not sure my colleagues do. We try and keep that really individual and personal. And
that's good.
I tried once. I did try,
Yeah.
but by the time I put in everything I needed it to do, I thought I might as well have just done this myself.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah.
just wrote it myself, but I have used it. So if I'm writing a report and I get to a point and I think, "Oh God, what is the word?" I might just put in the last bit of the sentence, say, "Finish this off with one word," and it will
Mhm.
often find the word that I want. Or I would use it. I've used it, for example, if I've written something and I wanted to be totally honest. So I wrote something totally honest, and then I put it into ChatGPT and I asked it to make it more diplomatic.
Okay.
And it really, really, and it was such a time saver, um, and I think if I can show demonstrate to colleagues that that is, a really valid and useful way to use it if you're
Mhm.
writing reports. You're still writing a
Yeah.
report. It's your thoughts, but sometimes it's just a really useful tool to help you make your writing maybe a bit more sophisticated, or to finish off when you get stuck, being a little bit of writer's
Mhm.
cramp,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
writer's
So
block.
writer's block, yeah. So you're the way you're sort of posing it to your staff and perhaps your colleagues and what have you, sorry, is more so like it's an assistant rather than it's trying to do a job on its own.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so for sure. An assistant, the
Mhm.
guide, and that's the way I would want to broach it in terms of lessons as well. The guide on the side,
Yeah.
absolutely use it to put in, to as a hook really. So when you're planning lessons, put your ideas in and get it as a hook, and fine tune that if you're
Mhm.
struggling. Or for example, I would use it. Say I'm teaching a particular grammatical point and I've taught it with another year group, and I've based all my resources for that on a particular topic area such as house and home. And
Mhm.
now I'm going to teach it, but I'm teaching the topic area of travel.
Okay.
I can put the original questions I had in from the first time I did it and say, can you actually change this now and make the content about travel? And it does
Right.
it so quickly, and I can demonstrate that to colleagues so they can see how fast it can uh, create those resources for
Yeah.
you. Well, one of the CPD sessions we had, my colleague, physics teacher, he asked it to create these physics questions, which it did, and my colleagues were astounded. How quickly it created these questions, and
Mm.
then I demonstrated to him how he could import that into Microsoft Forms, and it's done.
And then it's done,
He
yeah.
Yeah, and that is it's those kind of time-saving things that would be
Mhm.
really useful in terms of the resources and the planning, and
Yeah.
those will be the time-saving things, and then there'll be more. You talked about it being an assistant or a guide on the side.
Mhm.
There'll definitely be more opportunities for that when we start talking about it in lesson time. For example,
Yeah.
you create a quiz, your students complete the quiz, you get ChatGPT to analyze the data.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, isn't it? Like in
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah,
Instead of sitting
you know,
through and sorting it all
yeah,
out on
wow.
your own, yeah.
Here's what they found hardest, here's what they found most difficult.
Mhm.
And also, if you anonymize it, you take out the student names, name them 1 to 10 or whatever, and it can say, well, student 10 really struggled in this particular area. So
Mhm.
then that's when we can really get that personalized learning thing going as well.
Yeah,
You know,
'cause
why
yeah, so if it's not just an assistant to your staff, to your teachers and your colleagues, it's also an assistant to the pupils.
yeah,
'Cause that's it, hopefully then we see a spike in intelligence and just all around sort of,
just
you
the
know
whole kind of focusing it for the students, so that then I'll have the data, then I can say, okay, I need to create a lesson where you know the a third of the class have really got it, and I now need to push them on. And then I can create a lesson. For that same lesson I can say, okay, well, the bottom third still don't get the basics, and I need to deliver it in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can create those resources as
Mhm.
we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
And then think about the time when we are using in class, we've got our devices, and perhaps a student doesn't quite understand the task. Well, why
Mhm.
can't it be the assistant to that student? They put the
Yeah.
task to ChatGPT, and then asking ChatGPT to give them the answer. Or, for example, I'm considering, say, something like MindJoy, where I can see what the students have asked. I've got a little bit of control.
Mhm.
Students can put the question in, and they can say, "Can you give me the salient points? Can you tell me what it is I'm supposed to be doing?" And then the AI can give them, "Well, this is what you should be doing. First, you need to do this,
Yeah.
then this." They can crack on with their work then.
Yeah, yeah, and then you can sort of focus the quality of teaching onto different
Yeah,
aspects that need it. Because I suppose you're only you're only typically only one person,
yeah.
so it's
I
and
know. They haven't created an AI yet, which I can put myself into and make another one of me. So yeah,
no, yeah, yeah, maybe one day, maybe one day
yeah.
we'll
Scary.
the rate is growing. Yeah, I think there's a chance. Brilliant. Well, Jane, thank you very much for having a conversation with me. I really appreciate it. It's been great to hear
It's
some
fun.
yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's great to hear different views and especially what you're doing within school because it sounds fantastic and it definitely sounds like you know, who am I to say? But it sounds like you're on the right path for sure in
Yeah,
regards to,
I think we're on the way. We're definitely on
yeah.
the way.
Yeah, I think you're at, just even the outlook to it and the overview of what you have is a lot more forward thinking than perhaps, you know, some people out there,
Yeah.
which is a little
Well,
bit, you know, it's a bit of a sad one to think that not everybody's, you know, in it together, but I think it's
they'll
just
get there.
there now. It's it's there.
Exactly that.
Mm,
We can't ignore it for sure.
no, fantastic. Well,
Thanks so much.
yeah, thank you very much. It's been great to talk to you. Okay.
All right. Cheerio. Bye.